Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. Fabio Cerone, Managing Director for the Telco Business Unit, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and I'm delighted to stay with you this morning. So today you will learn what Ericsson, gigantic company, leader in the telecommunication sector, born in 1876, managed to go through a massive transformation leveraging AWS Cloud on all the three dimensions: the operating model, the business model, and the go-to-market. Now, the chapter one of this transformation actually started these days, 4 years ago, back in 2019. So I was supposed to spend my whole week, my first re:Invent here in Vegas, and the week before, Mats Hultin, the CIO at Ericsson, and Johan Sporre, Vice President Cloud Services, called us and saying, we want to meet you in Seattle. Wisely and likely, we changed our plan. We went there, we had the first one-day workshop, and the whole story started from there. In the last 4 years, we have been working day after day with Ericsson to execute on one of the most impactful cloud transformation that I've seen in the telco space till now. The good thing with this transformation is that Ericsson understood perfectly that the moment that you enter into a cloud transformation, changing your operating engine, essentially you need to go through three main changes: cultural, organizational, and systems architecture. And this is what Johan Sporre will talk you through. The second chapter started July 2022, when Ericsson finalized the acquisition of Vonage, market leader for CPaaS services, executing on a super smart strategic vision that is all about opening up the network and make it programmable by the community of developers that will start consuming the network capabilities through well-defined APIs. Vikram, Vice President for Communication Platform and Products, will guide you through the way that Vonage leveraged AWS to build the success that they've built, and now they will scale that up, building what they call the global network platform to make the network the new platform for the developers to develop use cases that the service providers will monetize. So without further ado, Johan, I would invite you to join me on stage and you go through chapter one.
So let's start with a bit of an introduction movie to Ericsson. Thank you. So on my way over here, I just got a call from one of my peers asking about how we were doing our cloud journey. They were doing their cloud journey and they got stuck. They were doing machine learning initiatives, and the CEO calls and says, we need an AI strategy. And they felt the pressure on how to handle technology when it's ever increasing in speed. How should we do it? And I think that sentiment is shared by many CIOs and tech leaders of today. The technology goes so fast. So just when we've completed one chapter, there's a new chapter of technology around the corner, or we might be in the process of still completing some of the initiatives that we've had. So how can we do more than just keep up? What are our strategies? What the structures are? How does the talent pool look like for the new technologies that are coming out? So our view is that the technology and the speed of technology is ever increasing. And as such, the potential and impact on societies are also ever increasing. In my perspective, a pivot role for us as tech leaders is to decode the complexity of technology. It's crucial that we provide guidelines, explain the strategic consequences of novel technology, including the potential risk, benefits for various industries and business models. Personally, I undertake the responsibility of crafting an engaging narrative around the use of emerging technologies by establishing a shared and common language about the novel technologies, so we all understand what we're talking about. The question arises is, where can we identify the top 1 or 2 impactful use cases that we can investigate and get engagement for our employees on? A journey that adds value and then can transition from a pilot phase to rapid scaling and eventually a status of business as usual. Given the accelerating pace of technologies and innovation, I firmly believe that the distinguishing factors between companies that will succeed and companies that will struggle to keep on is how swiftly the employees within the organization can adopt the new technology. And I think this underlines the importance that whenever you adopt new technology, it's a people-centric transformation. I think the way I try to describe the cloud generations in order to make a point when I do these type of discussions or in my one-to-ones, I go back to 2014, where I think the inflection point where we could actually put the final pieces of codifying the infrastructure where network were actually possible to bring to life through code. I call this the first generation of cloud. This was when we got easy access to compute power, accelerating the time to market for computing. For me personally, this was a period of where I found out that I could put my pictures to a storage, I could store my business documents, and I found that very easy and thrilling. Then later on, the second generation of cloud emerged, where hyperscalers invested in novel technologies, trending technology. We could see IoT accelerators, machine learning. Now we see AI, and potentially around the corner, quantum computing comes in. So what this does is that it democratizes technology for easy use. And a key factor of this is that it actually changed the culture. The culture from building technology to configuring and easily consuming technology. A major shift for many companies. Following this, what we see is the third generation of cloud. And this is where the evolution of business processes and business capabilities are being offered as cloud services. I typically illustrate this for a very simple example is where fintech companies look at how fraudulent credit cards through an API call. Right? It's no longer a big department having long lists and databases. You just ping an API call and you can see if this credit card is fraudulent. It actually revolutionized how fintech company works today. Oh, wow, sorry for that. It skipped a couple of slides back. I was trying to scroll. Okay, sorry. So I think I'd like to illustrate one of the things that I recently experienced. And it was a test that we were doing. We looked into a conversation on Teams, right? So we collected a couple of developers and we said, can we revolutionize the way we actually develop code? So we had a conversation on a collaboration tool, which then was transcribed by an AI assistant, and that was translated into a requirements document. And that requirement document was then translated into code and then put into production. And then it was run and tested and validated and fully into production without no human hands-on. Then we took that code, transcribed it, and elevated it to training the bot for the service desk with no human intervention. I think this will revolutionize the way we look at programming in the future. And today, this can all be done by AWS technology. So you can look at AWS Transcribe, and you can look at having this in a project tracker, and then you can translate it with Code Whisper, etc. So the technology is there. It's just to test it out. Of course, this was a very simple program, but I think it just shows the potential. I would say that driving adoption is all about fostering a culture of technology fluence and agility. It's about setting clear and ambitious goals, objectives that, in our case, reflected our commitment to a larger transformation, not just the technology platform, but really about changing how we worked. So we set out a target of moving 80% of our enterprise workloads to the cloud. This was not about 80% of their service. It was really shifting the mindsets of our employees to say, the cloud narrative will rule how we operate. So we had to completely change the way we worked. We adopted a product and a product portfolio-centric way of analyzing the way that we would work. This allowed us to incrementally change our organization. We moved part of our organization to a product setup, the ones that were important for us to succeed with this migration. It enabled us to learn the new ways of working, and it enabled us to actually get quicker access to the democratized technology. We then set up to build an innovation platform. So we put a technology platform that enabled us to use the technology that AWS and other cloud providers put out to the market super fast. This created a platform for innovation that actually established us to get this quick access to new technology and served as a launchpad for innovation, enabling us to stay ahead in the forefront of technology advancement and providing our business with cutting-edge solutions when needed. Ericsson is a large company. We have 100,000 users, 130 warehouses. We're covering 180 countries. So it's a complex operation. So when we talked about our cloud migration, we were not just talking about how to move the technology and service from point one to point B. We talked about the big culture shift. A metamorphosis could be that we needed to go beyond technology. We needed to foster culture, agility, and innovation. And if you look at this as an iceberg, you would see that the resistance can only be melted down through effective change management and communication. We needed to bring the employees on board and align with our mission and share our goals. Once everybody was on the boat, we started rowing in the same direction, and half of the battle was indeed won. In this large-scale operations, we looked a lot on the 4 Ps. How do we handle outdated processes, outdated directives, and policies that constantly blocked us to move forward? We did establish a migration factory. And in this migration factory, we covered all the approaches that we needed to cover, which we constantly talk with our peers about. We needed to do the design. We needed to discuss the change windows with the business. A very tough discussion when we were migrating such a crucial part of our workloads. Also, compliance comes up, security boundary conditions, and we wanted to manage everything within this factory. I think that was a key ambition that we had. Of course, there were exceptions, but to manage the vast decisions within the factory, I think is a key to success. Also at this point, we realized that we had to govern the financial impact of migrating to cloud. So with our partners, we set up a cost reduction and a cost avoidance KPI structure. So where software were penalized when moving to certain workloads to cloud, we had a KPI to track that within the design phase within the factory. We also looked at how we could reduce the footprint of the infrastructure. One thing that I would recommend was a very successful thing that we did. We set up a bi-weekly all cloud connect meeting. This meant that me and my leadership team and the program team joined up together, and then about 400 people called in on average from the program, from the organization, and we cut through hierarchies. So we had to hear about, it could be a skills question, it could be a program question, it could be a design question. That elevated all the problems up to our level. So we learned about them and we could address them early on. Because when you do these migrations, the organization is out of pace. Some are moving quicker than others. Some are moving their workloads. Some are starting to operate. Sharing a wow factor from the transformation I would pick up was really the SAP environment migration. For me, this is clearly a contender for the Guinness Book of World Records. Ericsson's SAP environment consists of 50 applications. And they are highly tailored and customized. And they have a lot of dependencies. So to manage the cutover of the most toughest module, we had 300 project members working across the globe on a minute-by-minute schedule. The team members were called in to execute their action on a precise timetable. We spent a huge amount of time preparing in automation deployments and preparations and massive communication to the organization. We estimated that a significant part of our top line would be impacted for every hour that we didn't bring up the system after this migration. The pressure was immense. So what's this? A coffee break in the middle of the presentation? Not really. I will tell you a bit of a story. Over a cup of coffee, one of our finance executives, a direct report of our CFO, came down to our product team and asked about the cloud journey. So one of my team members, our program director, Niklas, had this conversation, a casual chat over a cup of coffee. And he informed him about the program in general, and then the senior executive of our finance division said, okay, next week, when you migrate the workloads, I really want an hourly update on how the progress is. And Niklas was shocked, and he said, but yeah, we moved the whole system this weekend. You missed it. And I think that's the best ever grade you can get, a seamless migration of the heart of the company, where you were really pressed about impacting the top line. A couple of key takeaways, a couple of tips if you're in this migration or maybe in other migrations. One thing I think is really important when you do these migrations is that you will shift the way you work. So you need to rebalance and relook at your partner structure. And what we discovered was that we need people that actually have 2 domains of competences. So it's crucial that your partner can showcase that they've actually done this. They work in a novel way, and if you migrate SAP, they should have SAP knowledge and your cloud knowledge, AWS, in order to do this. The other thing is focus on automation. When we did this migration, we first migrated test, development, quality environment, and production environment. As we had a large set of automations, we could test it 4 times and optimize it 4 times. That meant when we moved the production environment, we were quite confident because it was automated. Also, what I alluded to when we talked about the factory, have one team that encompasses all decisions. I think that's super important. And then overall, trust the best practices. Cloud is not a new technology. There's thousands of companies that's migrated to SAP if you're going to do that. So when there is technology that's known, trust the best practice. You know, everybody claims to be special, but I think the best practices works in all industries. And finally, I'd like to share 3 examples of how we supported the business. So while migrating, we found it very important for us to also do partner up with the business. We teamed up with AI and machine learning platform to enable them to deploy these technologies and services quickly to the business. One example is that we reduced the generation of bill of material in minutes rather than days. We then supported our digital products in our customer cloud journeys, contributing to billions in revenue. And finally, we supported Ericsson R&D to start up the development in a 6G public cloud with AWS in a very short time with rich capabilities. All of this focus on business ensured that we were not building an IT-focused public cloud journey. It's a company-wide cloud journey. And it actually drives the typical traits from an IT organization focusing on operational efficiency and cost to revenue and speed. And with that, I would like to thank you for listening to the cloud journey, and I would like to invite Vikram, Senior Vice President of Cloud Products and Platforms.
Thank you, Johan.
Thank you.
What a great story of Ericsson. So just by the show of hands, just to get a sense of people in the room, how many IT and developers in the room? Hey, Half the room is developers. Great. So I'm going to talk about Vonage. So I lead products at Vonage. Vonage was recently acquired by Ericsson, and we were born in cloud. All our products were built cloud first. We were born in cloud. We were born in AWS. And we have leveraged everything that AWS provides, all the building blocks of an operating system, to scale our business. So if you think about Vonage, who we are. Vonage is a global cloud communications leader that's powered by AWS, helping businesses accelerate their digital transformation through our core offerings. Those offerings include unified communications, phone systems, contact center, video and screen sharing capabilities, a number of APIs like voice, video, messaging, chatbots, and many more. Our customers are all over the world. Customers like Farmers and Princeton Review, they use us they use our contact center. Customers like DHL, they use our APIs for delivering notifications when the packages are being tracked. Customers like Kickstarter are using our verification APIs to verify and authenticate their users. And we serve all sorts of industries: financial, healthcare, media, power, technology, telecom. We were founded 2 decades ago in 2001. We got over 120,000 customers and over 1.4 million developers that are directly coming to our developer portal and using our products and services. We take a lot of pride in the work we do, and we have been given the due recognition by one of the top analysts. In this case, you can see Gartner. They track all the players in this market, like Twilio, Sinch, Infobip, Cisco, and they have ranked us up and right for our vision in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. And we hope that we can stay here and deliver on the promise of pride and innovation. So what's our vision and what's our strategy to realize that vision? As a company, our vision is to accelerate the world's ability to connect. And to deliver on that, our strategy is to power our customers' communication, conversation, and engagements through our global Vonage communication platform. It's a unified platform combined together with our apps and APIs, and we deliver that in a secure and scalable and a cloud-first way. And just to walk you through that journey for a moment, we started out as a VoIP company. You all may know Vonage as that phone company that you could get and call anywhere in the world, right? That's how we started. And we started in the cloud. It was a disruptor. It was disrupting telecom companies and going head-to-head with Verizon, AT&T, and global telecoms around the world. So disruption and innovation is in our DNA. Then, a decade later, we realized, mobile phones have arrived, and that's going to be the main communication device. VoIP phone, it's going to sort of have a slow, gradual, sunset. Vonage made a pivot to B2B. We invested in contact centers. We invested in unified communications. We acquired a company called Nexmo in UK that was building communication APIs. Then in 2021, Ericsson looked at the company and had much bigger ambitions, and they said, we want to build a global network platform. And that means not just doing CPaaS, which is basic SMS voice verification, but to unlock the massive power and intelligence that lies in 4G and 5G networks. And I'll talk about that, but there is a lot of intelligence that will unleash so many use cases that can be done in more efficient ways. That's what we are doing now with Ericsson. We are building this global network platform. And as we move forward, we want to take our assets and build the world's greatest engagement platform through which we can power our customers' communication, conversations, and engagements. So that's our vision. And then again, to recap, we have 4 areas. We have unified communications, we have contact center, we have CPaaS, and now we are getting into 5G APIs. So far, the 3 areas, UCaaS, CCaaS, and CPaaS, they've been growing very healthily, right? This market has been growing. We expect 5G APIs to sort of take off in the same way and be the fastest growing category amongst all. Let's look at, what does a day in life look like at Vonage? What sort of traffic we carry on this platform? So on a given day, we are doing 120 million minutes of video calls, and with 10 million plus participants. This is happening on a global scale. We are doing 7 million minutes of telephony calls with 60,000 concurrent calls happening at peak and growing every day. We are doing 70 million messages on a day across SMS, MMS, WhatsApp, and all of this at 99.999 uptime. And all of this would not be possible if we hadn't picked the right platform. So when we were building this platform, we had sort of 4 big goals to realize this. One, we wanted to be a global platform, not just a regional player, but be a global player that can deliver CPaaS services. Second, we wanted to consolidate all our products, both that we have built organically as well as our acquired products, into one single platform. So we wanted a partner where we could have all the products in the cloud. Third, we wanted to make sure that we can deliver on our customers' expectations around stability, redundancy, and scalability. And finally, we wanted to do this in a secure and compliant way. Our customers are big, global, and we wanted to do it in a safe way for them. So let's see how we were able to achieve that. And this is where AWS comes in. When it comes to our goal of being global, we are now operating in 15 different AWS regions, and we've been able to do it very smoothly while ensuring reduced latency and high quality for our customers. We also moved all our 5 acquired products in the cloud on top of AWS. We were able to do this through the multi-account strategy while ensuring microservice segmentation and least access model for our teams. Then, in order to deliver real-time services, we are in the business of communication, so everything is real-time. We are able to move traffic between availability zones and regions on demand on a very dynamic basis. This allows us to scale our resources to adapt to variable customer loads while ensuring system stability and redundancy. And finally, when it comes to compliance and regulations, there's a number of tools that AWS offers that we are able to leverage and deliver on that compliance. This is a view of how we have built our business for scale on top of AWS. I won't go through every single building block, but you can see these are the core services that AWS offers across major services like networking, account management, scale, security, automation, and consistency. I'll talk about 3 of them in particular. AWS Transit Gateway. This is very crucial for us because this allows us to move data securely and privately to any of our regions around the globe. Then I'll mention the Control Tower because this has given us a framework to manage and vend AWS accounts quickly to support teams and trigger custom automation to provide point-to-point private connectivity to our VPCs. Today, we have over 400 accounts and 2,000 VPCs. Not as many as Ericsson, but still quite a lot. Then finally, when it comes to scale, we are using both EKS and EC2 for managing scale-ups of our applications. So those 3 are particularly top of mind for us that we use day in and out to scale our business around the world. And as we look to the future, we are going to invest in this global network API, so let me talk about that. We have on the left of this semicircle, you can see we have our CPaaS APIs like voice, SMS, authentication, IP chat. But then on the 5G APIs, we are rolling out new APIs like silent authentication, quality of service, location, device status. And we hope that this will unlock a whole new set of use cases and innovation in the market. Let me talk about that. So let's take mobile customer engagement. This market is big, right? When you think about companies like Salesforce, Adobe, SAP, they're all in the business of customer engagement, right? And these platforms need a way where they can validate the user. They want to be able to authenticate the user. The most common form of authentication today that you see is you're getting an SMS with a 6-digit OTP code. Now, it's manual, it's not very secure in some places, and it's sort of, you can make a lot of mistakes entering that 6-digit code and reduces the conversion rate. With our new API, which we call Silent Authentication API, we are able to look up the user directly in the HLR, verify against SIM swap in the network, and give a very high score of authentication and verification. So we think an API like that is going to unlock many new use cases in the customer engagement space. And this will become the new norm. If you think about what happened over the last 20 years, you were getting an SMS OTP, that won't be happening. You will be automatically verified in the operator network with your phone number. Then when it comes to location API, there's over 25 billion connected devices. If a customer wants to track their devices and humans with their permission, we can invoke the network location on those assets and sort of put a geofence put various sort of use cases, and leverage this API. So we think, again, here, this will enable a new set of use cases that was not possible with something like a GPS, or it was too expensive, or it was not battery efficient. So location API from network will unlock many new use cases. Then let me talk about quality of service. So this is a new capability that we are building. These networks that we have, they are really powerful. But when you come to a place like Las Vegas in a conference, all our phones are jammed. We are not able to make calls or get high-quality data connection. But there is something called a network slice. Okay? And if you were to, or if the app that you're using has chosen to pay for that, they can demand a dedicated network slice from the network and give you a dedicated connection, even in a congested network like this. So we think scenarios like, AR and VR, they are sort of the big sort of killer apps for such a use case. But even just ordering an Uber, Uber could choose to incur the cost of giving you a network slice so you can order your taxi. So we think this 5G APIs is going to unlock a whole new set of use cases that have not been sort of fulfilled today with the current possibilities in technology. And how are we doing it? We're combining the strengths of Vonage and Ericsson together. On one side, Vonage is bringing its large enterprise customer base, the power of developers. We learn so much from our developers, and our global API platform. Ericsson, on the other hand, has such deep expertise in 5G. They have access to almost every single operator, so we can create partnerships and create new innovations with them. I'll give you now one demo. Let's see location API. I talked about that in tracking users, putting a geofence around it. So let's see one such demo. It's in one of my colleagues' voice. So let's play that for 90 seconds.
So the device location API is a network API that has been enabled through the Magenta Business APIs powered by Vonage. Now, what this API allows us to do is to check whether a subscriber is within the radius from the center point of the specified latitude and longitude parameters. By default, our demo application has a radius of 1 kilometer. And so we can make this request with that radius, and it looks like the subscriber in this case is not within that range. We can go ahead and expand this to 10 kilometers at the center of the city of Cologne in Germany. We'll go ahead and check again. And again, we get the subscriber not in range. In addition to that, the API returns, of course, a success, whether the request was successful or not. In this case, it was successful. Verification result, whether the subscriber was within the range of your specified radius. In this case, it was false. And then we also have some device status, basic information, such as roaming, the country code, and the country name. So we can see that the user is not roaming outside their network. So let's go ahead and move over to Munich. I know that the subscriber that we have added to this demo is in the city of Munich. I don't know exactly where he's at, so we're just going to put it right in the approximate center of the city of Munich. So let's go ahead and check. And now we could see that the subscriber is within this range. So the request was successful. The verification result comes back as true, and then all the other items that we get for a device status. That is the device location API offered through Magenta Business APIs powered by Vonage.
So there you could see, a very powerful use case. They were trying to track a subscriber with the geofence. First they checked if the user was in Cologne, and that resulted in negative. Then they checked if the user was in Munich, and that gave positive confirmation. There are many possibilities with such a location API, and this is available now, today. We actually launched this with one of our big telecom operators, Deutsche Telekom, a couple of months ago. And we also helped them launch a full platform so they could then go sell CPaaS and 5G APIs. So let me talk about that. So that platform is called Magenta Business API. So Magenta is the color of Deutsche Telekom. It's one of the leading operators in Europe. And together with them, we built what is called Magenta Business API. That's a customer experience platform that offers communication APIs like voice, email, verify, SMS, but also new network APIs like the ones I talked about, location, silent auth, quality of service. And there's many more in our roadmap in 2024 that we are rolling out. And we are also rolling out such partnerships with operators around the world. So let's hear it. We launched our first partnership with a major operator a couple of months ago. So let's hear it in Deutsche Telekom's own voice on what this announcement was.
Let's talk about APIs, and these are application programmable interfaces. And for all those of you who are not that deep technical, you might want to wonder now what we all talk about. But at the end of the day, it's the core of digitization. Because if we think about digitization, that we transform data from analog to digital to then work with that data, we need software and we need interfaces between the software to do so. And there we are. So with now Magenta Business API, that means Magenta, this is us, these beautiful shirts together with our partners. Business means we start with a B2B proposition, and then it's APIs interfaces, and that means that we are opening our network so that it can get accessed from software, from partners, from the outside. You don't have to build your own infrastructure to use communication APIs. And now we have started in the entire industry with communication APIs, but we are taking that with network APIs to the next level. We are enlarging that. It's a beautiful case on the communication side, but this thing is much bigger.
All right, that's exciting. I may not sound as excited as Peter, but I am excited. I'm very excited about this partnership, and we are launching many more. In this case, you see Deutsche Telekom, one of the leading 5G operators in the world. They have been able to launch a platform, they've been able to launch new network APIs, and we are doing business with customers in Germany as we speak. Our goal is to do many more such partnerships and many more of these new APIs. And how are we making that possible? It's the power of the telecom partner, in this case, Deutsche Telekom, who is the leader in their region, Vonage, that brings its global communication platform, and Ericsson, that's bringing its telco strength and network connections. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll be here for any questions.